Okay, this is problem number 6. The question reads, use the graph below to answer the following. Part A. What is the slope of a line parallel to line GH? So in our graph, in the diagram, it shows us GH is this line right here. And we want to find the slope of a line parallel to line GH. Well, you know, and you know from your notes, that parallel lines have the same slope. So if we find out the slope of line GH, any line that's parallel to it is going to have the same slope. And let me just position my pen. This is a line that's parallel to GH. This is also a line that's parallel to GH. So parallel lines have the same slope. So what is the slope of line GH? Well, it tells us two points. We know point G and point H. Point G is -2, -1. And point H is 2, 11. Now our formula for slope, if you don't remember, slope again is the change in y over the change in x. And if you need the formula, it's on your formula sheet right here. The slope, m, equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to label my points here, x1, y1, x2, y2, and I am going to substitute. So y2 is 11 minus y1, which is -1, over x2, 2 minus x1, -2. 11 minus -1, 2 negatives make a positive, so 11, this is actually 11 plus 1, which is 12, over 4, which equals 3 over 1. So the slope of line GH is 3 over 1, or just 3. What that means is the slope of a line parallel to GH is 3, because parallel lines have the same slope. Now you also, instead of using the slope formula, which is what we did right here, you could have picked and counted on the graph. So for example, it looks like your y-intercept right here is 5. We could have counted, you rise 3, the change in y is 3 for every 1 that you change in x. It's the same thing. This is just the algebraic way to do it using the slope formula, but you could have just as easily, perhaps even more easily, calculated the slope on your own on the graph. Okay, part B. Part B reads, what is the slope of a line perpendicular to line GH? Well, you know, and you know from your notes, that perpendicular lines, their slopes are the negative reciprocal. So if we know that the slope of line GH is 3 over 1, the reciprocal of that is 1 over 3, and perpendicular lines, the slopes are the negative reciprocal or the opposite reciprocal. So instead of just 1 over 3, it's going to be -1 over 3. So the slope of a line perpendicular to line GH is -1 over 3. Okay, let's take a look at part C. Part C says, write the equation of a line that passes through point F and is parallel to line GH. Okay, so we're going to write an equation of a line that passes through point F and is parallel to GH. Well, if it's parallel to GH, what's the slope of this line going to be? The slope of the line has to be 3, because we know that parallel lines have the same slope. So the slope of this line is going to be 3. Now we know that the point it has to pass through is point F. Now what point is point F right here? Point F, it looks like, is 6, 5. Well, guess what? We have a point that we know it has to pass through, and we have the slope. We have the point and the slope. So what form are we going to use? We are going to use point-slope form. And if you don't remember what that form is, it is on your reference sheet. It says point-slope form of a linear equation, y minus y1 equals m, parentheses x minus x1, where m is the slope and x1, y1 is a point on the line. So I'm going to copy that down real quick. Y minus y1 equals m, which is the slope, parentheses, x minus x1. Now I can substitute because I know my x1, y1 is the point that I want it to pass through. So y minus y1 is 5 equals m is the slope, which is 3, parentheses, x minus x1 is 6. Now I'm going to isolate y to get it into slope-intercept form, which is the easiest form. So I'm going to rewrite this, y minus 5 equals, I'm going to distribute the 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 6, negative 18. One more step, add the 5, because I'm trying to isolate y. Y equals 3x, negative 18, and positive 5 gets you negative 13. So the slope of this line that's parallel to GH and passes through point F is y equals 3x minus 13. Now let's take a look at it on a graph. Here's another way to do it, which might help you on the EOC because you do have grid paper. So what you could do is you could make your own graph on your grid paper, like line GH and point F right here. And let's think about this real quick. Well, we are trying to make a line that's parallel to GH that goes through point F. So like, is this line parallel through to GH? No. Is this line parallel to GH? No. Is this line parallel to GH? Yes, it is, but does it pass through point F? No. The line that's parallel to GH and passes through point F looks something like this. So we know our y-intercept is going to be somewhere down here. Okay, so let's calculate the slope again. The slope we calculated was 3. You change 3 for every 1 that you change in x. You rise 3 for every 1 that you move in x. So if we work backward, we can go down 3 and over 1, down 3 and over 1, down 3 and over 1. Again, we already calculated that the slope of this line is 3. Down 3 and over 1, down 3 and over 1, down 3 and over 1. And if we draw our line, so this is the line that is parallel to GH and passes through point F. Now what is the equation of this line? Well, y equals, the slope is 3x, the slope is 3, so y equals 3x. And what's the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept is right here where it crosses the y-axis, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Negative 13. So the equation of the line that is parallel to GH and passes through point F is y equals 3x minus 13, which is exactly what we found when we calculated it algebraically using the point-slope form. Okay, let's hop to part D. In part D reads, write the equation of a line that passes through point F and is perpendicular to GH. So we know that the line that's perpendicular to GH, the slope of that line has to have a slope of negative 1/3. We calculated that in part B. Now we want it to pass through point F which is 6, 5. So again, just like the last problem, part C, we have a point and we know the slope. So what form are we going to use? We can use point-slope form. So again, it is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1, where x1 and y1 are the point that the slope that the line goes through. So we are going to substitute this information. Y minus y1 is 5 equals m is the slope, which is negative 1/3, parentheses, x minus x1 is 6. Again, just like part C, let's simplify this. Y minus 5 equals, we are going to distribute this slope, the negative 1/3, so this is going to become negative 1/3 x. We're going to distribute the negative 1/3 to the negative 6, and if you do not remember multiplying fractions, this is negative 1/3 times negative 6 over 1. We can basically make a whole number a fraction by putting it over 1. When we multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators. Negative 1 times negative 6 is positive 6 over 3 times 1 is 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So over here I have positive 2. We have one more step to get it into slope-intercept form. That is adding the 5. So we isolate the y to get y equals negative 1/3 x plus 7. This is the equation of the line that is perpendicular to line GH and passes through point F. So let's take a look at the graph for part D right here. Again, I just drew this on a piece of graph paper, and you can do the same on the EOC. It's very helpful. So what's the line that's perpendicular to GH that passes through point F? Is this line perpendicular? Well, no, that line's parallel. What about this line? No, that line's just intersecting. Perpendicular means that they intersect at a right angle or a 90-degree angle. Is this line perpendicular? Yeah, it looks much closer to being perpendicular, but it doesn't pass through point F. So the line that's perpendicular to line GH but passes through point F looks something like that. Okay, so again, let's start at point F, and we know that the slope of this line is going to be negative 1/3 because the slope of GH is 3 over 1. So the slope of the line perpendicular has to be the negative reciprocal. So the slope of this line is negative 1/3, which means it's going to look something like this. Down 1 in a positive direction 3. Down 1 in a positive direction 3. Down 1 in a positive direction 3. And I can continue the pattern the other way. Up 1, over to the left 3. Up 1, to the left 3. Up 1, to the left 3. I can draw a line. So I just drew the line that is perpendicular to line GH, but passes through point F. It makes a 90-degree angle. These two lines make a 90-degree or a right angle. So what is the equation of the line that I just drew? Well, the equation is y equals, the slope is negative 1/3, so negative 1/3 x. And what's the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept of the line that I just drew is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, positive 7. So the slope of the line perpendicular to GH that passes through point F is this, which is the exact same thing that we got when we calculated it algebraically.